Yeah, I don't think any of us deny the fact that yellow rust is probably the biggest problem at field level at present. But on the other hand, we must also admit that the UG99 project has probably been one of the best proactive research programs ever in the history of plant pathology. If we didn't do it, we might have had quite a few problems that we couldn't solve at this point in time. So I'm not going to take a lot of your time. I will just carry on from where Dave left off and give you a few examples of how we use surveillance data and the cultures that we get from those surveys, how we use them in our research back home. So although the information that Dave and his group have been putting together in terms of the spatial distribution and all the online resources for us to understand what occurs where and how these particular pathotypes are spreading, surveillance cannot end just with a summary of the geographical distribution. We must take the extra step. So we need live rust cultures. They may be sleeping, but they must still be able to, for us to get them out of their dormant state and to use them in the selection and breeding of resistant varieties. So this particular sequence of pictures you've seen many times, so I won't bore you with it. We get the survey samples. They process in the greenhouse. We determine the particular pathotype. We use those pathotypes in several types of experiments, whether it's genotyping, phenotyping, just gene mapping, marker-assisted selection, eventually all resulting in improved varieties. The important part is getting the information from the survey sample to the actual production field. So that part is what we really should aim for. But we need, of course, we need this component as well to be able to complete that connection. So in my situation, the surveillance efforts, and I have to admit that is done by our ARC people, the Agriculture Research Council at Bethlehem. They do an excellent job of doing annual surveys. One of the few, I think, labs in the world that can really say what is the constitution of our rusts and what we have because of the very diligent efforts in that regard. So we can now screen our commercial varieties, we can screen potential sources of resistance, all the breeding lines at the different levels of testing, whether they be the crossing block, the parents, junior level trials, senior level trials, and what they call the elite trials, and then finally the released varieties. It is also used in the resistance discovery, where we look at more distant materials, germplasm not really adapted, but upstream, and using certain techniques that can be improved so we can use those sources in actual resistance breeding. And then also we use it for genetic analysis to determine the number of genes, the location of genes, etc. And the relationship of new sources with previously described resistance.